episode 100, season 4, episode 5, the Tinder Box. This whole season, I swear, has been a bunch of back and forth. Like, this is kind of good, that's kind of bad, this was really bad, although this was really good, and that was like a little bit bad, but ultimately I think they're on top. And then this episode strolls around, it's like, things are looking kind of down. You know, it's like, man, sweet, they found a cure. You know, weightlessness and stuff, that's really good. Although that came after a seizure and before the revelation that the seizure was a part of a stroke, which means that all the cool stuff about Allie's code and basically Becca's brain being inside of Raven's brain is really bad because Raven's gonna die. And then, oh, Abby's gonna die too, probably. And then Arkadia, you know, they make a great plan for that, nobody dies there. And then, oh, look at Ilian, he blows up every freaking thing. So Arkadia's gone. And they have no options except to transfer, as they mentioned in the promo, the very easy to destroy fluid across crazy terrain, across the water, I would assume, unless they found like some other path where they can, you know, don't have to transfer it to boats. But transfer all of that to this new little base and then take this rocket, which was an amazing reveal, like there's a freaking rocket that was sweet, and take that up to space so that they can use the lessened gravity in order to bond the cells together, because it's, I guess, too structurally unsound. I don't know, I mean, it's cells, I wouldn't think that they're, I don't know, cells, I don't know, but they need less gravity. So gotta take the freaking blood to space. They need the fluid to get up to space in this rocket. And it was like, there's so many little things in there. It was like, that's really good. And then just ultimately everything else is like, they are so freaking screwed. I don't know what the heck is going to happen with Ilian. Either that guy is living for a super long time, or he's going to have his skin torn off like he met Buffalo Bill, because it's hard to say right now. Like, he's in a bad position. But Arkadia's gone, so that's out now. They have this great deal. We'll do 50-50. I was like, man, I don't know how that's going to play out with Clarke. That's going to be tough to... They already had to do like the fake lottery thing that Jaha came up with. It's like, all right, let's see how that plays out. And then Ilian actually is able to destroy the entire base. So all of that is gone. Arkadia is completely destroyed. I'm sure that lessened quite a few people. They made it seem like everybody made it out alive, but I'm sure they'll be talking about how a lot of people died and stuff in the next episode. But he destroys all of Arkadia, destroys, you know, the server room, engine room's right on top, blows up the whole freaking thing. He has this crazy drive. Like, he's a really interesting character because it's like he had this hatred for everything that happened with Allie, of course. And then he has this crazy thing where it's like, alright, I don't really like Octavia. She killed my ambassador, but he was cool about it. And he actually saved her life. Like, he legitimately saved it by the end of this episode, even though that was kind of his plan early on to get into the base, which, who the F, like, where was everybody not watching this random dude? They just kind of like, Octavia, and then this happens, and everybody just vanished. It was like they just all got zapped off the planet, and he was by himself. So it was just crazy. And then he saves her at the end of the episode because it's like he does actually want her to live. And I'm just like, man, he has this weird drive where he hates them, but at the same time, he specifically hates technology. And he knows, he's in there, he's conscious enough to be like, I will destroy technology, but I will let humans live. Even though Octavia, like I said, killed his ambassador, it wasn't his family, so it didn't matter that much to him, I guess. But it was just crazy. I mean, this whole episode, it was really good. And I'm like, I thought it was tense before, where I'm like, oh man, I was freaking out that, you know, we were going to lose a really cool character. And he's like, you know, we have to, Monty has to go after Riley. And I'm like, alright, I'm kind of freaked out, especially when they switch him and Bellamy. And it's like, you know, he becomes a prisoner. And I was just like, oh man, what's going to happen? So I thought that was a tense moment. And the part where Bellamy has to talk down Riley. And all that stuff already was tense enough. And then we have like just the looming threats of Raven having a stroke. And I knew, even of course when Abby was kind of fighting, like, you know, I'll let you know if I'm having headaches, I was like, oh, so she's gonna die too. And like as soon as she said that, or you know, it was even referenced about the EMP thing, I was like, it's over. Like, that's pretty much it. And it makes me wonder if she's gonna start to have those effects, or if she just doesn't have it in general, because she mentions, you know, not having or like the EMP thing and all that stuff having different symptoms for different people. So with Raven, maybe it was just because she had that insane connection where Allie was constantly utilizing her or forcing her and breaking her down like crazy, It was very unique for her. I think Raven probably had the most unique experience out of all the characters that had to deal with Allie. And so she comes out of it in this way, while Abby comes out of it in a much lesser form, but she's having the hallucination in this one where she sees Clarke at the end. So I don't know what they could possibly do to actually save either of these characters. I mean, with Raven, I mean, she's the one who's really pushing it, so I think it's more likely that she'll die and Abby could just live longer. But even then, there's not much that they can do. I mean, I don't really know. We'll have to see how it plays out. But this was a great episode. It really, like, emotionally speaking, it was just a downer of an episode. Like, two people are just, like, set to die. All of Arkadia's gone, so that plan's, you know, up in the wind. I would assume with them doing it that way, because it was a lot of back and forth, like, okay, this plan could work, this could happen, certain failures here, like when they found the bunker for, like, the occult and stuff, that didn't pan out. They have the Nightblood thing, but they also have Arkadia as a backup. Arkadia is now gone, which, in one regard, that's really awesome, because that means we're going to have, or, I mean, they could technically stay in Arkadia, but it's going to be so different now. Like, that was their base. That's what they had, and I don't know what to expect from that now. Like, how different that's going to look. Are they even going to stay there? Because, you know, how everything is all messed up. They can still use, I mean, there's a ton of metal and stuff. They can still use that to make, like, little shacks and stuff. So I expect that to look very different by the end of the season. So that should be pretty exciting just to see the change. You know, it's still Arkadia, but it's going to be so incredibly different. It'll also most likely change in the opening as well. It won't be, you know, the big ship. It'll be like a little town almost. So I'm kind of excited to see if they actually do that in the opening. But really good episode, just really insane, really creepy, not creepy, but just scary in general as far as what may or may not happen with Raven and Abby and how things are going to play out. I was surprised when I saw the promo. There doesn't seem to be war. I mean, they made their deal and then everything fell apart, and it seemed like, all right, well, we'll still maintain this deal. We just all have to work together to make sure that the whole Nightblood thing can actually become a viable option. So I was happy to see that, because I'm like, is he going to risk it and just try to kill everybody when there's no options left? Is he going to just go nuts like that? But Ron was way smarter, and it was like, all right, well, I can't even fight you on nothing. So it's like, hey, let's work together. So I was happy to see that. So everything's kind of back to normal for them. And we'll see where it goes, because I still believe it. So, I mean, heck, we're episode 4 or something crazy like that? Episode 5. We're at episode 5, and they pretty much lost every option. And we're in the beginning of the season. The other people still don't even know what's happening. We still have the other story of a new commander coming in with the whole Nightblood thing, which I'm curious how that's going to play out as well, because if Indra's daughter does find an actual Nightblood just out in the wilds somewhere, that's going to be an effect on the characters, because then it's like, oh, look at that. You guys did actually lie to me, where you said you destroyed it. Of course, Clarke doesn't actually know that. The only person that does know at this point is Octavia, as far as, the Sky Crew. So no one really knows about that except for Octavia, Indra, and of course Indra's daughter. So I'm really curious where that's headed. Like, that's going to come back into play, and there's the element of how do they continue their own customs, because that's a big part of the show, are the customs of Grounders, and how is that going to work when everyone is a Nightblood, because they have to utilize that simply to survive. So there's a lot there. Like, I know that's going to be a part of it. Who knows? That could be the second half of this season. They might actually solve this problem and cure everyone, and then the second half, it goes back to, like, chaotic war. Like, how do we choose who's a leader and who's not a leader anymore? And maybe they'll still do the same thing where, there was a Nightblood before they, did the cure, so that person still ends up becoming king or queen, and then, if that is the case, Rowan may or may not fight back, and I assume that he will, because he's a little pissed. I mean, he was guarding it at first, and then once all the chaos happened, it was like, alright, just to help Indra's daughter, let's say that it was destroyed. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and how mad he really gets at Octavia and Indra for, having that secret and stuff. So there's still a lot that they can do. The customs are still there in the background, and how that truth is going to come out. The truth to everyone else that's alive. I mean, at this point, it's Azgeda and it's Azgeda, Indra's people, or what's left of her people. I mean, there are only like maybe 2 dozen people that get killed when they were in Polis, and then of course all the Sky Crew. So it's like we have these 3 different groups who know, and then there's a lot of other people. There's 13 clans, and there's a lot of them who don't know what's happening. So they still have to announce that truth to everyone, and then even though they have the answer, like, hey, we'll make everyone Nightblood, there are going to be people who don't want that to happen because of their customs. There are going to be people who rush out to do it. It might tear families apart. All sorts of chaos. It might be more than just war. It could be straight up anarchy. So there's a million ways that this could still go, and I'm just excited to see where they're headed. It was a crazy freaking episode. Really loved it. A million different crazy things happened in this, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts were. It was freaking crazy. I don't even know what to ask specifically about this episode. I mean, we kind of know where it's headed. I assume they'll get the fuel to the rocket ship, because otherwise, if they can't do that, they got nothing. So if that does fail in this next episode, I can't wait to see what the alternative option is to get this rocket into space. But I assume that they're going to succeed in this next episode. It seems like they're going to be fighting against another clan, and that's why that's a big issue to begin with this like road trip episode. But I'm very excited for this next one. No real question on this one. It was just a crazy episode. What shocked you the most, I guess, is the biggest thing I can ask for this episode. What shocked you the most in this episode? Was it the idea that both Raven and Abby could end up dying? Was it the Arkadia thing? I mean, it's one of those two. I think those are the biggest things in this episode. The rocket was really awesome, and that's how they get to that actual cure, but the devastating stuff is really what shocked me the most. Specifically, for me, it was the Arkadia thing. At first, even the stroke stuff, I was like, that's really sad, but it wasn't like, you know, it didn't like blow my mind. It just really sucked. I was like, man, that sucks. Like, they have this great advantage because of the way that she explained, like, having the RAM full and just being cut from the OS, and they find a freaking rocket. And I was like, I was watching, I was just like, I never would have seen that coming. So that was amazing. And then the ending was just like, I did not see that coming at all. I thought for sure, typical TV moment, you don't have to do this. He wants to go for it, but they still managed to stop him anyway, but they didn't. And then I was like, huh, that did not go as I expected. I thought they would just stop him. I didn't think he'd give up, but I thought they'd at least be able to stop him from, you know, blowing up the whole ship. So that's my biggest moment for me, was the actual ending where it's like, holy crap, all of Arkadia is destroyed now, or at least the most important part of Arkadia is gone. So I would love to know what hit you guys the most in this episode, and just what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.